Hello and welcome to today's Bitrix24 webinar HR Toolkit. Thank you for joining today. Okay, so we'll just go through some introductions. So my name is Sam Connor. I'm a sales engineer here at Bitrix24 Gold Partners Interface. We're based in the UK, the US and Hong Kong. And we offer a full range of services to help you with Bitrix24. So starting off with pre-sales support, we can help really to evaluate your requirements for the Bitrix24 system. And that can include a discovery call and demonstration. If then the system is correct for what you're trying to achieve, we can then implement the Bitrix24 system for you. If you're looking for a self-hosted edition, we can provide our own hosting services, and we can then provide training and ongoing support to help you get the most out of Bitrix24. Okay, so if you come to today's webinar because you're wanting to learn more about Bitrix24, Bitrix24 is a collaboration suite of well in excess of 40 different tools that you can use to essentially manage your business. There are over 10 million customers now around the world that use Bitrix24, and the system is available in two different editions. So we've got the Bitrix24 Cloud and the Bitrix24 self-hosted solution. And prices start from $49 per month for the self-hosted license and $2,990 for the self-hosted system, which starts off at the Business 50 package. Okay, so today's webinar is focusing on the HR features available within Bitrix24. So first of all, it's really important to understand why you should use Bitrix24 for your HR requirements. So Bitrix has lots of tools you can use to easily search and find your employees and the information about your employees directly in the system. You can manage users' working time, and there are personal areas for lots of personal HR features such as contracts and appraisal documents that you may want to store in a centralized area. We'll then start to look at some of the self-service processes that you can implement within Bitrix24. So this includes how you can manage absence requests, expenses, it could be purchase requests, or even creating new projects and bringing people together. And we can also create custom processes. So there are some out-of-the-box processes that we'll look at, but you can also create your own custom processes using lots of different tools within the system that we'll look at. And that could include, for example, managing the onboarding of new starters. Okay, so what we'll do now is we'll go into our Bitrix24 system. Let's take a look at some of the tools that are available within the HR package. So we'll have a look at the profile and company structure. We'll see how we can manage users' time, and we'll then look at how we can store information within the drive area, how we can engage with our employees, and then we'll start to look at some of those self-service processes that we can create. Okay, so let's go into our Bitrix24 system. So the first area we're going to go into today is actually within our profile itself. So with every user in the Bitrix24 system, you get your own profile page. And this is where we can store really all of our details about ourselves inside our own profile page. Now you can see here on our system, on the demonstration site, we have an avatar. So Max Smith has an image here, an avatar, but you could have a real picture, an image of yourself and all of your colleagues inside the system. And then on the right hand side here, we've entered all of our different pieces of information about ourselves. But what we can also do here is we can create custom fields. So if we wanted to maybe add some more information inside here, maybe it could be my address, for example, then I could create custom fields to capture specific information. We'll have a look at this later on. So you can see my remaining leave entitlement. So this is a custom feature we've added to the Bitrix24 system. So if you want to add a user's annual leave entitlement, we have the capability to do that. So that's a plugin we have available for the self-hosted edition of Bitrix24. So we'll go into more detail over that. And we can see across the top here, we have shortcuts to lots of different areas of the Bitrix24 system. So here I can click on tasks and it's going to open up my task management page. So I can now start working on all of my tasks directly from my profile. And it's the same for all of these different tabs here. So I could go into the drive area and see all of the documents and folders that I have access to. Okay, so that's looking at an individual user's profile page. But what we can also do is we can set up a company structure. So rather than just focusing there on an individual user, what we can also do is we can create our departmental structure inside the Bitrix24 system. So we can see here we've got all of our relevant departments for this organization. You can add multiple departments. So here we can see finance and the sub-finance department. And we can then add the users to their relevant department, or it can be multiple departments that we add them to. And let's just now go into the employee database section. So inside here, we can see all of the details of all of our employees. So this is really useful, especially if you are maybe a new starter in the business. You could use the company structure and this employee database to quickly find relevant people within the organization. So for example, here we've set some skills that our employees are associated to. So for example, I might want to search for someone who is associated with the payroll skill, for example. So I can drill down into that page and find the relevant person. And within the Bitrix24 system, what you're able to do is you can communicate with any of your colleagues inside the system. So if we go to another user's profile page, what we can do is I could start a conversation with Mark. So I can go into here and this will open up the instant chat tool. So I can have a conversation with Mark, but I can also do HD video calls and I can do voice calling as well. So there's 3 different ways we can communicate with colleagues in the Bitrix system. But that's just on a one-to-one level, but I could, if I wanted to, add other people to this, or I could start a department conversation call. So you could set up as many internal chat rooms as you require. Okay, so that's a look there at how we can manage profile pages and the employee directory and company structure. So they're really useful features of the Bitrix24 HR platform. Moving on now to see how we can track time in the system. So we can see at the top here, we have a clock, and what we can do inside here is we can record time. So what we can do inside here is log the amount of time that we're working each working day. We can log our break time and when we clock out of the system, and that can then be recorded in the time and reports area. So it could be you want your employees to clock in by a certain time each day and clock out by a certain time. We can set those time parameters on the system for you to make sure your staff are working to the relevant or contracted work hours each working day. And we'll be able to see that logged amount of time inside the work time reporting section. So inside our dashboard here, we'll be able to see all of the time that each user has logged inside the system. Okay, and another way we can also log time is actually individually within the tasks that we are working on. So if we go back into our task management system that we were looking at earlier on, any tasks that I am responsible for or participating in, I'm able to log that time against the task itself. So if we go into a task, for example, I can see the task page with all of the relevant information about that task. And what I can then do is I can start this time tracker feature. And that is now going to start logging the amount of time that I am spending on my tasks. So you could also just, on a very low level here, every task you're working on, you could record the amount of time you're spending on those tasks, and then you could construct a report to report on that task time as well. So this is a really useful feature available within tasks. Okay, moving on from time there, we also have the Bitrix24 drive. So the drive area is really useful if you're wanting to store your HR associated documents. So this could be where you store your contract, for example, and any payroll information you're associated to. Because what you have is your own personal drive area called My Drive. So nobody else can access this information. But let's say, for example, we can see here we've got a performance review document. What I could do is I could set access rights. So actually, even though it's stored in my drive area, I could still give access to specific people within the organization. So it could be, for example, people within the HR team, or maybe it's my manager and my team buddy, for example. So inside here, I can select the users who I want to give access to the document, and then I can even set what level of access they have on that said document. So it could be read access, it could be full access. You're in control as to what level of access they're able to have on any documents within your drive area. Okay, and what we'll also take a look at here is the company drive. So here in the company drive, essentially this can be your company repository. So inside here we can set in all of our, for example, departments could have their own folders, and then within those folders we can store all of our files associated to that particular department. And once again, we can set access rights, we could lock down those documents, and we can even run business processes on documents. So it could be, for example, when a document is uploaded, we want to send it to the manager to approve before it's able to be accessed by other people. So we can also create processes on the back end of those documents as well. And if we want to add a new document, we can go to the add section here, so we can upload from our local center, or we can integrate with external applications as well. Okay, and moving on from the drive area, now let's take a look at how we can improve engagement with the rest of the business directly inside Bitrix24. Okay, so what we're going to do here is our feed section. And the feed section is essentially a very modern intranet board. So anything that you are associated to within the Bitrix24 system will be fed into your feed section. So this is personalized for every single user inside Bitrix24. So if somebody sends a comment within a task, for example, it would feed into the feed section for you so you can see that. So as soon as you come into Bitrix, you might want to go through the feed section so you can see all of the up-to-date communications. And on any post that you have in your feed, you can like, you can comment back, you can tag colleagues. Okay, so we're tagging John and John will be notified about that. So it's a great way to focus the communications on each relevant piece of information. It's not just an ongoing chat. Everything can be focused here. And we can also send out messages from this feed section. Okay, so I can send this message and I can choose who I want to send this message to. So it could be going to all employees, it could be certain users, or I might want to send it to certain departments, for example. So let's send it to the Sales UK and the Sales US teams. And I'm going to post that message out to them. So they would all now receive that. If they're within those departments that we looked at earlier on in the company structure, they'll receive that message in their feed section. And just to point out as well, you can be notified when you receive these messages. And there are 3 different ways you can set up notifications inside Bitrix24. So if we just take a look at this, so we've just added that message, and you may want to be notified when new messages get added to your feed. So there's 3 different ways we can set up notifications. So you can receive those directly inside the Bitrix24 system. You can receive them as a push notification to the Bitrix mobile app, and you can receive them as an email as well. So there's lots of different ways we can receive those messages. And like I say on here, we can like and comment back so everything can be communicated, and I can pin my favorite messages at the top of my feed. And within the feed section here, we can also create and assign tasks to people. We can also create events. So there may be company-wide events you want to create. So we can add that into here. We can choose the dates and who's going to be coming to these particular events. We can see their availability, and I can then add that event into here, and they can then add their authorization to accept that particular event. We can also create polls. So this is really useful to improve engagement. You may want to ask questions. It could be, when's the next summer party? And you give them different options that they can then answer from. And we can then see the results based on what is the most popular choice. We can also send appreciation. So maybe someone's done a really good job. So I can type out my message. I can choose the employee I want to send the badge to, and I can select what type of badge I want them to receive. And I can also select who I actually want to send this to as well in terms of the background of the message. So I'm going to send this badge to Mark, but everyone within the sales team is going to see this message to have that recognition for Mark in the system. And when we send out a badge, that's a really nice way to recognize someone's good work. What that can also do is it can be fed into their profile page that we looked at the start of today's webinar. So that can sync into their profile so they have that history of what their recognitions were. So if we now take back into the profile area, what we can see inside here is all of those different appreciations that have been added to our badge. So I can go into there and see what the message was for each appreciation. I can see who's liked and comment. So that's a really nice way to engage with employees directly inside the system. Okay, also another feature that's very popular within the HR features of Bitrix24 is the calendar. So inside here you have your own personal calendar. So very similar to how the drive works, you get your own personal drive. You also get your own personal calendar, so you can add all of your meetings and events. These can sync in from the CRM system if you're adding activities. We can also synchronize from external calendars. And we can also have a company-wide calendar as well. So this can be for your company-wide events that you want to add people to, just like we saw earlier on when we were adding a new event and adding people into the event. So we also have the company-wide event calendar as well. Okay, so let's look there at some of the HR tools. We'll move on to in a second to look at some of those self-service forms and processes. Let's just see if we've got any questions on YouTube. Okay, so we've had a question here. Is there any way we can have help to set up the company structure? So yes, absolutely. This is essentially what we're here for as the Bitrix24 Gold partner. So we do specialize in helping businesses to set up the company structure and other features within the HR toolkit. So if you are interested in having our services to help you set up the company structure and other areas of your HR tools, then please do contact sales@intraface.com and we'll be happy to set up a meeting with you to discuss those requirements. Okay, so moving on now, what we're going to focus on is the business processes and self-service forms, because these are really powerful areas of the Bitrix24 system. Essentially, what this allows you to do is to create processes that can be automated. So this can save you an awful amount of time so you can focus on other areas of your business, while Bitrix does all of the hard work in terms of processing the request, sending it to the right person at the right time, and making sure everyone is aware of the process that they need to be associated to. So we're going to have a look now at a few different processes that we can create. Okay, the area we can go to check where the processes will be is within our feed section. So if we go back into our feed area, if we want to start a trigger of a new process manually, we can do this directly from the feed page. Okay, so this feature is available on all self-hosted editions of Bitrix24 and the professional cloud edition. So what we're going to do here is we're going to request some annual leave inside the system. So let's go to our workflow tool. So we're going to go into here as Mark Hope. And we'll go to the workflow section of our feed. So we can see here this has now opened up the form where we can select the type of process we would like to run. So inside here I'm going to select the request leave form because I want to request some annual leave inside the system. So we can see this has opened up the request leave form, and the pieces of information here that we need to enter, this can be completely customized. So you can decide maybe some additional pieces of information are required for your business. That's absolutely fine. We can do that. And you can decide what fields are mandatory and what are not mandatory. So inside here, let's select, I want to take off the 17th of June. We can put a reason inside here. And I'm going to submit that request. Okay, so that request has now been submitted. And what will happen now is, because the process has an approval process, that is now going to go to Mark's manager to either approve or reject inside the system. And we can see what the status is of that request. So currently that's pending inside the system. So let's now go back into our manager's mode. And we can see that new request has come in from Mark. So I can see all of the information about that request. So I'm going to approve that new request inside the system. And now we can see we've been notified that my holiday has been approved. And if we go into the time and report section, we have a company-wide calendar to be able to view all of those absences across the organization. So in the absence chart, we'll see now that Mark's new request for the 17th has been added to the system. So it's really useful if you're having to deal with lots of requests. You may want to look at this view before you approve or reject those requests, so you can see who is off across the department, maybe, for example. So we could drill down into a department level and see who is or who is not working that day, so we can decide who is able to have their requests approved inside the system. Now, an additional feature we have available with the on-premise edition is the ability to set leave entitlement. So as standard with the Bitrix24 system, you don't have an entitlement threshold for each user inside the system. But what we have developed for the self-hosted edition is the ability to set entitlement levels for every user inside the system. So we can set those entitlement levels, and then once they have used up their entitlement for that holiday year, any new request would automatically be rejected inside the system. And if there is any entitlement left over, that can also be accrued and passed through to the next holiday year. And within the profile page, you're also able to see all of the leaves that you have in the system as pending or approved. And we can also see our remaining leave entitlement. So our time management plugin really adds on and scales up the functionality of the leave process within Bitrix24. So if you are interested to find out more details about that, please do contact sales@intraface.com, and we'll be happy to set up a full demo to show you that and to discuss options with you. One feature available now to go into the CRM system, just to make you aware of quite a new feature, and a way you may want to use the CRM system is the Smart Process Automation tool that's available in the CRM system now. Because essentially what the Smart Process Automation tool allows you to do is to create brand new entities within the CRM system. So for example here, what we have created is an applicant tracking system. So when we have contacts in the CRM database, we can pull that contact into this new applicant tracking process. So we can create different stages here for our applicant tracking, and I can then see what stage each of those applicants is at inside the system. And if we click on one of those applicants, we can go into here and have an applicant page with all of their relevant information about the application. We can create different sections, so we can see the job details, the CV section, maybe some additional documents such as a contract. And we can create automation rules. So at each stage of this applicant tracking process, we can create automations that go to the actual contacts. We can create automations for maybe a responsible person, so it could trigger the creation of tasks for them. So we could use the Smart Process Automation tool to actually manage lots of our HR processes inside the system. So I wanted to show you that today, which is available in the CRM database. Now, another process we could create using the Business Process Designer tool is actually the creation of a project. So it could be, for example, we have won a new HR contract inside the organization. Maybe we're going to be creating a new HR workforce where we're going to be collaborating on HR projects. So it could be we need to bring that group of people together and have a specific type of tasks already created in the system for us. So if we go into here, we have a new project workflow, for example. So we can just see here how lots of different types of processes could be created within the Bitrix24 system. So we've seen how we could create leave requests. We've seen how we could manage the onboarding of new applicants. And here we're seeing how we could create brand new projects and bring a group of people together and have tasks automatically created within that project. So you can see how very flexible the tools are within the Bitrix24 system to manage your specific HR requirements. So what we're going to do here is fill out this form to automatically create a project and bring specific people into that project. So let's call this HR project. I'm going to select someone who's responsible from the HR team, and we're going to have another member of the HR team within the roles here, and we'll set a deadline. Okay, and what we can do here is select what type of projects. So there may be different types of HR projects within your organization, and based on what we select, we can then decide who is going to be invited into this project and what tasks are going to be created based on that condition. Okay, so we've just submitted that new HR project in the system. And then what we can do is we have been made responsible for that project. So I can now approve this before we actually create that inside the system. So we can have that level of approval before anything gets actioned. So you've got that fail safe in place. And we can now see automatically that project has been created. We can see some tasks that have been created as well. And if we go into our project management area, what we can see here is that the project has automatically been created inside the system. And it's brought specific people into the project. And if we go into the task section, we can see it's automatically created tasks inside the system that we need to complete. So we can see how that process of creating a project can be automatically streamlined in the Bitrix24 system for you. Okay, so let's just check if we have any questions. Okay, yeah, so I can see a question there. Is there a limit to the number of leave requests you can submit in a working day? So no, there is no limit to the number of requests within a working day, as long as if you have our plugin where we can set entitlements, you don't go over the entitlement level that you have for the number of holiday days you can have in one holiday year. Okay, so in summary, we've seen how we can manage our own profile and build a company structure within the Bitrix24 system. We've seen how we can manage time on a daily basis and down to a granular level inside individual tasks. We've looked at our personal drive area and company drive space to store documents. And we've looked at how we can engage with employees through a variety of tools within Bitrix24, from instant chats, video calls, voice calls. We can send messages through the feed. We can send out polls and also send out appreciations with badges. So there's lots of tools that we can use to engage with our employees, and we can set access rights within the self-hosted edition. And then we looked at those different types of processes we can create using self-service forms, smart process automation, and robotic process automation tools. Okay, so here are a selection of up and coming webinars. So we're here at 11 AM Eastern Time every other Tuesday. If you have any questions in the meantime, please do contact us at sales@interface.com. One of our team will be happy to set up a meeting with you to discuss your requirements.